a second here. Let me get my screen up properly so I can see all your comments. Don't want to miss any. We love them. We love the comments. Good morning, Moscow. Double B. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, all. Sean recommends. Love it. Good morning from Anton. Anton lost. Buena dia, Bitcoin believers. We love it. Well. Bitcoin is running, Ben, and it looks like my internet is better. We have less cloud coverage today. Elon with the glass houses and the internet that has trouble with cloud coverage. That's okay. We love Elon. We're going to be talking about Elon today. B for victory. Beaumatin, good morning, Bitcoiners. With the peace and the coffee. We love the peace and coffee. Peaceful coffee. Oh, Tom has let the cat out of the bag. We got mega sunrise. Look at this. Well, don't we love it? Don't we love all that sun? All right, we got a maximum sunrise. And Bitcoin's running. So all that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what is new. Delicious coffee. That it tastes like we're on the cusp of finding out. That's our theme today. We're going to find out. Right? It's all about finding out. Summer Bitcoining ending. Robert, it is. I am in I'm in Vermont, obviously. But this weekend is a tradition. Where I come from, as I've mentioned times, the area of Brome Lake, which is where I was born and raised. Well, I wasn't born there. I was born in Montreal, but I was raised in Brome Lake. We have the oldest and greatest agricultural fair in all of Quebec this weekend, and it's just the best. It's like so old-timey America, New Englandy. We've got, even the buildings that are there have been there for like over 100 years. We've got a great big grandstand and a horse racing track, and then the show barns and the show, the pasture where they show all the animals. Midway, we get about, really, it gets about 200,000 people over the course of 3 days, always on Labor Day weekend. And it's a lot of fun. And it's a really good mark of the end of the year. It really feels like the end of summer, and it's just a great time. So can't wait. Got all kinds of friends. I get to enjoy that thing that a lot of people who come from small towns sometimes get, where everyone comes home for this weekend. So it's really neat. It's kind of like a homecoming for everyone. So we're in for a treat, everyone. I'm not going to bore you with more stories of Labor Day, though, because we got to get right to Moscow time. We got some good Moscow time, right? Coffee is indeed ready for Moscow news in East Texas. And Jevi says, much like Bitcoin, I do the breakup. We love it. We love it. Come, keep doing the breakup. Keep doing the breakup. And we got a goodbye BIP 300. Hello, Bitcoiners. Yeah, well, I've been talking with we did you know there's a regular here in the breakup who is helping Paul and those guys. So I'll definitely be talking with Paul. I've known him for a long time. I'm as with anything when it comes to Bitcoin scaling, I don't really get excited about it all, right? I expect the chaos to be a feature, not a bug. Like, I love the difficulty of changing things, and I don't really know one way or the other. I just always opt for slow and steady, and I think we're still in the slow and steady. So I love the fighting, right? We love fighting. It's always good. Especially around what to do with Bitcoin, right? So we're big fans of that. Let me get my file here together, and we got some good ones today. Moscow time's a little thin, but even when it's thin, you get some excellent ones, right? This one's great. The Spectator Index. This happened in Chicago, right? A television news crew were robbed yesterday morning in Chicago while reporting on the city's robbery sprees. It's pretty good. This one's good too. Now just listen to the frame, right? Now it's the new Parola variant, right? So if you didn't know, the new Parola variant fears spark earlier rollout of the flu and COVID vaccines in UK, because we're all afraid, right? We're clamoring for the new rollout because the variant has really created a lot of fear, right? We're so afraid of vaccines, get them out early. I'm afraid of the new variant. This one's awesome. This one's great, right? Jahan Jones, right? We love Jahan, right? Jahan is the way he reads like writer or something, right? And here's what he says, right? Because everyone's still upset about Trump becoming an icon because of the mugshot, as if it was so difficult to predict that people would love the mugshot. And so here's what Jahan Jones says, right? Sharpton, they're talking about Al Sharpton here, right? Sharpton schools rappers who have been seduced by Trump, right? So Al Sharpton is going to school rappers because they love school. They love being schooled, right? Who doesn't like being schooled? A few hip hop artists and many black conservatives have adopted MAGA talking points, baselessly claiming that Trump's criminal cases will help him with black voters. You got to see this one guy who did an interview. Now he's got a T-shirt, right? He came to the Atlanta courthouse, and it was the N-word that African Americans use amongst themselves, that ends in an A, right? And it was that word, who love Trump, and it was going on, and he said it perfect, right? Because someone tried to trip him up. And, what about the mugshot? He goes, no. We've been falsely accused forever. So what Sharpton goes with here, okay? So that's what that guy said. What Sharpton ends up going with here is that Sharpton says, and this is one of the original hoaxes around Trump, okay? This is one of the original hoaxes around Trump. The Central Park Five, right? That was the first thing I heard from my know-it-all law school friends who hated Trump when he first started in 2015. What are the Central Park? Read about the Central Park Five, they kept telling me, right? If you don't think he's racist, read about the Central Park Five. So I said, okay, what is the Central Park Five thing, right? If you don't know the story, it was a scene out of what we see today. A group of teenagers went around doing terrible stuff, all right? Now, the truth is the five who were arrested and locked up for years, right, were actually innocent. So they are 100% victims of this system. Now, that part has nothing to do with Trump. The part that they got Trump on was that Trump came out and bought a full page ad in the New York saying death penalty, right? Death penalty. Now, everyone ever since has said, oh, he wants to kill black people, right? But nowhere in the ad does it say anything about anyone's color. All he's saying is that people who go around raping and breaking and destroying, might be eligible for the death penalty. So in nowhere in the ad has Trump ever mentioned anything about black people, right? And you know what they never publicized when Trump brought back the death penalty? I don't know if you guys ever knew this. So Trump did bring back presidential. I don't know exactly how the death penalty works around the United States. I know there's state death penalty rules. Some are federal. They had paused federal for a little while, but Trump got it going again. He actually did execute a few people. Now, just so you know, I am anti writing the laws about a death penalty. The concept of a death penalty, I'm always for, right? I don't have a problem with that. But it's one of those things. Sit down and write it and see how hard it is, right? Here's advice if ever you're in a meeting and someone has a terrible idea, right? If you're in your job and some people have bad ideas, the only way to really expose a bad idea is to just tell them, well, write it down, right? Just write it down, and then we'll all see it. But the act of actually writing it down can take what you think is a good idea, and once you see the difficulty in actually putting it on paper, it will expose itself, and they won't be able to do it, right? So it's one of the best ways to counter a bad idea instead of arguing about it, right? Just say, well, explain it to me, write it down. So that always works. And in the case of the death penalty, that's always where I stumble. Like how do you give the state that kind of power in a way that is balanced? It's hard, right? So, but anyway, Trump did reinstitute the death penalty, which I'm not a fan of, but anyway, I get it. I'm more for the base dropping for the Nuremberg special occasion death penalty stuff, but that wouldn't be systematic and forever, right? These would be just a few people selectively launched into an airlock in space so they can tumble to the earth for crimes against humanity, which they committed during the COVID thing. That's a separate issue, right? So I'm not that passionate about the issue anyway, right? But just so you know, Trump did reinstitute the death penalty, but do you know who he executed? White supremacists. So the first people he executed were white supremacists. They didn't want to talk about that one, right? They didn't want to talk about that. So just so you know, right, even going back to the Central Park Five, it had nothing to do with black people. He wanted death penalty for criminals. So there you go. If you ever hear that one again, that's how you handle it. It had nothing to do with it. But the confusion around death penalty and what's going on with Trump, right? The whole case that's going on with our legal system right now, the whole appearance of our legal system in America is along the lines of what I've been saying for a while. America has literally thrown out its most valuable resource, more valuable than all of its oil, more valuable than everything, the reputation as a place where the rule of law can be exercised. It is gone. Right. And if it's not the Trump thing that's enough, Elon's second criminal or case, not criminal, second legal hang up that he's got here is case in point. Right. So what happened to Elon Musk yesterday? So, he's got the first one, and that's for SpaceX. And it's because he didn't hire immigrants, because he's not allowed to hire immigrants, but he didn't hire immigrants. Remember that one? Right. It's illegal because it's rocket technology for him to hire anyone besides U.S. citizens. Not even Canadians. Like I couldn't work there, right? So they decided to try to get him in trouble for not hiring immigrants when he's like, right, okay, if that's not the best, they've gone now against Tesla. Okay, so the SEC and the DOJ is investigating Tesla for what? What might you ask, right? Apparently, he is constructing a glass house. This is not part of the simulation. This is real, everyone. Or what is the difference, right? I should say this is not Moscow time. This is real, okay? They're saying that he built a glass house. So someone out there is accusing another person of building a glass house and that it's criminal or something like that, right? So what happened is they're saying that he used corporate funds from Tesla to build some vanity project that was a glass house. So they're trying to get him in trouble for it. Kaneko the Great breaks it down. He says Biden's DOJ is now investigating Elon Musk's Tesla for constructing a glass house. SpaceX was sued by the DOJ last week for not hiring refugees to build advanced American rocket technology. What a funny way to put it. They were sued for not hiring refugees to build advanced American rocket technology. All right, this is what he says. We have a bunch of these investigations. Have less to do about glass houses and more to do with Biden exacting revenge on Musk for buying Twitter, the greatest psyop Democrats have ever owned. Has there ever been a more blatantly politicized Department of Justice? That's what some people are asking. So the Wall Street Journal picking up the story as well, obviously, saying the Justice Department and SEC are investigating Tesla's use of company funds on a secret project to build a glass house for CEO Elon Musk. Now, Cernovich goes out and says, this has gone on long enough. The GOP must defund these Nazis immediately. If for no other reason than self-interest. These thug tactics will be used on every Republican. And it goes on, right? According to a report, Jabdul saying federal prosecutors and the SEC are separately investigating the use of Tesla funds to bankroll a secret project that is described internally as glass house for Elon Musk. Now, put this in context too. We have Katie Hahn talking about the grayscale GBDC ETF thing, and saying nice win for crypto this morning out of DC Circuit, a federal appeals court, one step removed from SCOTUS with a remarkably unanimous decision from an ideologically diverse panel. Vivek is on board this and says the following: the shadow government in DC is out of control, and the federal courts are our only remaining line of defense against the unlawful rogue behaviors of three-letter government agencies. This decision is strong and clears a path to keep Bitcoin and blockchain innovation instead of overseas. Never reached the courts in the first place. They want to rescind all federal regulations that fail the Supreme Court's test in West Virginia versus EPA, which quite literally includes most federal regulations. Will get it done. And of course, that's the one where we're talking about the, which we've mentioned many times here, right? That's part of the no judicial apparatus inside of arbitrage bodies inside the U.S. government, right? I think that's what he's talking about here. So what we're talking about is the, or no, it's not. No, never mind. I don't know what this one is. I'm misinterpreted. I'll look up West Virginia versus EPA because it hasn't, the other one hasn't been, so it can't be that one. And it's a different name. So I made a mistake. I thought I knew which one this was, but I'll figure it out, right? So, but does this, does what Vivek is saying clear the U.S. justice system? I don't think so. He's just saying now the federal courts alone, right, that the whole rest of the system is part of this politicized banana republic and runaway three-letter agency problem that America has. And it becomes really obvious when you start even looking into the DA Fani Willis, all these people now going into the indictments and going into the last Trump arrest. Now, again, I'll say it again, right? You should get some kind of a prize if you can keep all of the Trump stuff together in your head. Remember, I've got a law degree. I do this every day. You notice I do this every day, right? We talk about this every day. I can't name the four of them straight and keep them separate, right? That's how hard this is. It's not, and I don't mean doing the show every day. I mean following the legal mess that they put around Trump and being able to decipher what's going on. Like it's tough because it's boring, first of all, and stupid and all made up and not real, because you can't actually point to a crime. You can just point to like legal constructs and the boxes hoax, right? The document hoax. And the other one is he lied about, let me try and get this right. He lied about the way he defended himself against the woman who lied about him sexually assaulting her. Something like that, right? Is that it? I think it's it, right? So he's got all these hoaxes. But Technofog here breaks down just how bad the Fani Willis one is in Georgia. Listen to this, right? He goes, serious issues emerging with respect to the charges brought by Fulton County DA Fani Willis. The indictment's RICO allegations are insufficient to provide notice to the defense per Georgia law. The alleged contracts to conduct illegal activity are non-existent, right? So they go on to say the indictment fails to set forth any facts that show a connection between the enterprise and the racketeering activity. And the nature of that connection is not apparent from the identification of the enterprise. The general description of racketeering activity in count 1 or the subsequent counts charging more particularly the predicate acts of racketeering. In truth, the prosecution should know there was no contract for Sullivan Strickler to conduct forensic imaging of the Coffee County voting systems, right? So they're saying here that Trump didn't order any of this. This was all sort of volunteer, right? It wasn't like a coordinated effort. Cernovich jumps in and says, when this was filed, I knew it was bad because the regime cutouts all looked sick. The useful idiots shouted with glee, but the anti-Trump lawyers I followed immediately flagged major issues with the case and feared it would discredit the other 3 prosecutions. Now, you've also got the other one with Judge Chutkan. I'm not sure which one this is. Again, oh no, that is the same one. That's the boxes scam. No, sorry. That's the Trump incited or lied about insurrection. I don't know, right? I think it is, right? But here's what they're saying about collusion, whatever. This is Dan Bongino. Judge Chutkan and DOJ's Jack Smith are expediting Trump's trial at an unprecedented rate. So his lawyers have 5 months to review the 12 million pages of evidence. So they only have to read 65,000 pages a day, because this is the DNC's best chance to convict Trump before the 2024 election with an activist judge and a 95% Dem jury pool. Somebody asked in the court, has there ever been a case this big in this district where you indicted a guy and the trial was only 5 months later with no time to prepare? The prosecutors themselves responded that the government hasn't identified any cases in this district where the length of time between indictment and trial was roughly 5 months. There has never been a case ever that has been pushed from indictment to trial in 5 months. But let's start now with only one of the most important cases in American political history, right? So they're talking about how crazy this is and things like that. Meanwhile, the situation with Biden and Hunter becomes even more difficult to follow, right? Like if you thought the Trump stuff was tough to follow, the Biden And Hunter stuff is even crazier, right? And James Comer comes in and says, Hunter paid Joe Biden's bills, and we're getting those bank records. Anticipate Tony Bobulinski at an oversight committee hearing, and an impeachment inquiry is imminent. Now, what I understand, though, is that because the DOJ has an open investigation on Hunter, they're saying, oh, you can't bring any of these people to testify in the House because there's another active investigation, which is what a lot of people said was the point of even pursuing Hunter even a little more, right? And not just ending it there. That was sort of the backup plan to the plea deal not work, right? According to some folks. So now that they have this information, we'll see, right? We'll see. But what I'm seeing here, and you know, even you look at the RICO case itself, right? The using communications and everything they're trying to get Trump on for this one. There's no sort of coordination. It looks like there's no contracts, like they say in that. Meanwhile, we're finding out that the Department of Homeland Security used Slack and personal cell phones when they did their misinformation and censorship activities on Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere, in order that they couldn't have any Freedom of Information Act subpoenas for that information. So in so many of the ways that matter, the US justice system, not the political system, this is not the same, right? The US justice system is corrupted and is becoming more and more like the US political system, except for, as some folks said, perhaps at the highest levels, perhaps, as Vivek said, the last little bit is the Supreme Court and some federal court judges, right? So things are not looking good, but here we go, right? I've got an interesting way that this could all change. So it starts with, I don't know if any of you guys saw, Tucker Carlson went on the Adam Carolla show yesterday. So if you guys don't know who Adam Carolla is, he used to be Jimmy Kimmel's partner in The Man Show, something like that. Was like just stupid stuff, right? Nothing I ever watched. But if you've ever seen people say, oh, Jimmy, you were not such a nice guy before, you know, you did all these things like harassing women and whatever else went on that show, you know, and now you're suddenly this bleeding heart, and why were you so jerky before and not now? Some people will say that that late night host Jimmy Kimmel is compromised, right, and is getting blackmailed and forced into doing things. It looks true when you compare it to, you know, take the Adam Carolla and Tucker Carlson interview yesterday. Very interesting, right? Well, what was Jimmy Kimmel doing yesterday? Have you guys seen this? This is one of the best things you're ever going to see in your life. You've maybe never seen anything so funny and pathetic in your entire existence. So it turns out that all the late night hosts, right, the Stephen Colbert, the guy who does the vaccine dancing, get your vaccine, that guy, right? So him, Seth Meyers, right? He's another one of these late night hosts. Jimmy Fallon, right? Another late night host. And who's the other one? So, I think there's supposed to be 5 of them. Let me see. So it turns out that they're going to be launching a podcast because of the writer's strike. So because of the writer's strike, the late night hosts have all gotten together. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert. I thought there was another, but it doesn't matter. And they recorded a promo for it. You have to see it. Oh, yeah. The other one is the John Oliver guy. You know, this John Oliver guy? I mean, I can't watch a show. It's too stupid. It's the same joke for 25 years now. It's the same joke that they were saying when it was the whatever that guy's name is, Jon Stewart, right? Did you hear what the president said? Oh, gosh, yikes, right? It's the same joke. I couldn't watch it when Jon Stewart was out in the 2000s and I was a law student. I couldn't watch if I was at someone's house, you know how, remember that in those days when you'd go over to someone's house, watch some TV, right? Hang out, right? What's on? Let's watch late night together, right? I had to leave. At any one of those college parties where you're sitting around watching late night, I had to go. Like, it was so mind-numbing and stupid. And Stephen Colbert was worse. Like, the minute he came out, I was it was absolute toxicity to me. Like, I had to be out of the room. I couldn't, my mind could not handle it. I had to be gone, right? That's how much I hated it from the start. So I feel vindicated now that we see these people coming out and being terrible. So without their writers, they put the 5 of them together. You've never seen such lack of polish. My screen setup here, which is like I literally tell you every day, I try to simplify and not make it complicated, right? John Oliver was sitting on stage, sitting on his, it looked like a Zoom call, right? So they're all there and it looks like a Zoom call. He's framed like this, okay? Hi, I'm John Oliver. Oh gosh, right? So he's framed like that. You get all of these people together in what really looks like a Zoom call. The funniest part is their backgrounds are meant to try to look like like normal houses or something, like it's in someone's room or it's in wherever, but they're not funny. They're not funny at all, right? They look disinterested. They look bored. You can tell, you know, in one case, you can sort of even see the substance abuse. Now, I'm mind reading, but you can see the fidgeting and you can see that they don't, like, they can't actually be still in their house in a way that would make sense to you or I, right? Just completely crazy. Now, I'm going a little far, right? But it won't work. So you remember the time, if you ever watch those videos of the compilation of Trump Can't Win? Remember, you know, the Trump Can't Win compilation? If you haven't seen it, it's one of the great compilations of all time, right? I think it even launched the compilation genre, right? Because the compilation, when it came out right after Trump got elected, I mean, I probably watched 100 times in a row, right? One of them is when you get that John Oliver guy saying, "Do it, I will personally write you a check, Mr. Trump. We don't present, but we greatly wish for you to run. Do it," right? So he's sitting there making fun of Trump, saying you'll never win. Now, this is a guy who still has a job making predictions about politics, right? And now I'm doing the same to him. They better put this show out. They better do it, because we will get such comedy gold from these morons exposed without their writers. It's going to be one of the greatest things. Now, I just want to contrast that, right? As a long segue, because remember, the Jimmy Kimmel partner was Adam Carolla. And yesterday, totally making this up, but when I'm Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel, I see what it looks like when you're compromised and what it looks like when you're not. These two used to be like best friends. They were a comedy duo, right? So to watch Adam Carolla still be able to have a coherent worldview that isn't filled with obligations to other people, you start to see maybe how this stuff works. And what happened was, in the Adam Carolla interview with Tucker Carlson went deep. And what he said is, clearly, he said it very clearly, that CNN and the newscasters in things like the late night are all Mockingbird agents. So we know that here and talk about it all the time. But to see it said out loud by someone like Tucker clearly is a change, right? We're in a new era here. So here's what he said, right? This is what Ashley St. Clair said. They have banished all the late night hosts to a podcast. Nature is healing, right? You have to see how terrible it is. You're not going to find anything as stupid and unfunny as this thing in your life, right? So here's what Tucker said on this Adam Carolla interview. He goes, Tucker Carlson says several CNN anchors are mouthpieces for the intel agencies. Now, they say CNN here, right? But it's deeper, obviously it's deeper. The intel agencies have a big effect on what is broadcast on television and what you see on Facebook and Google as well. There are a lot of anchors, including people I know well and have worked with at different networks. I'm thinking of one in particular, a national security reporter who is just a mouthpiece for the Pentagon and the CIA and is knowingly telling lies on their behalf. It's very, very common, and I think of a number of people at CNN who I know for a fact are doing the exact same thing. They're reading government propaganda from the intel agencies knowingly, and I know it's true. I'm not speculating at all, is what he says, right? Okay, I believe him. He goes on, right? He doesn't just say that. There's more to the interview, right? So he says, and this is where things get a little dangerous. He says he expects Trump to be assassinated shortly, right? That basically there's no stopping this anymore. They've tried the character assassination, and that they're going to come and kill him soon, right? So that's what he says, right? Now, is it true? Maybe. Now, some people have said, what would happen if this happens, right? Where are we headed if they arrest him, or if this is what he says about the assassination. We are speeding towards assassination, obviously. They have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have it, right? So that's what Tucker said yesterday, right? He says this is going towards assassination, right? Now, here's what some people think. And this is where I'm going to disagree, and this is where we're going to go to our theme today. Find out or mind out, what World War III is really all about, right? Find out or mind out. So this is one prediction about what's about to happen, okay? Whether assassination or the arrest of Donald Trump, and they actually throw him in jail. So it starts with this. Martyr Maid says the following: are you guys prepared for the likelihood that the regime will throw Trump in jail right in the middle of the presidential campaign? What will people do? What do you think will happen as a result? And put them in the comments. And he doesn't get into the assassination here, but I'm going to add the assassination to the same scenario because the reaction would almost be the same, right? So Indian Bronson has this answer. Boomers will be very angry on Facebook. People will post exasperated tweets. The national news media will treat it somberly, having gotten a message not to celebrate. The leadership will redound to how very serious the crimes of Trump are. Someone will do something stupid with a gun somewhere that couldn't have succeeded anyway, and the National Guard and FBI will annihilate them. The basic orderliness and business of family on the right will prevent any large-scale violence. And the military's leadership will see to it that elections are supported with a fair and open process with some international observers for extra measure. Nothing else will happen, as in the regime really does want to explode the elections. 99.95% of Americans will simply go along with it, albeit with grumbling, albeit with despair in some corners, but they will go along with it. And international condemnation will be as muted as the non-condemnation from the right-wing political establishment, only too happy to see certain positions finally eliminated from mainstream possibility. Cernovich adds, more of the regime's political opponents will be arrested, including Twitter political people. If they can't find anything direct, they do what they're doing to Elon and cook up some paperwork error. Competency will decline. An airline dropping from the sky won't be unusual, right? So is this possible, right? Are we headed to this place where they can kill him, they can arrest him, and I don't care about the killing and the arresting, really, right? I love Trump, love, right? I don't want him to die, but if he dies or is arrested or whatever, to me, it's not the end, right? And I'm going to disagree with what's going on here and what they're predicting, that it will be a sit on your hands and watch it all happen, right? And the reason is. I think, for example, the campaign approach that most people can take who are on that Trump side, I mean, the Kennedy, the Vivek, Trump himself, right, all have the following campaign slogan open to them, right? And I first heard Scott Adams say it a few days ago. But I think it's bigger than Trump. So he suggested this for Trump. I think it goes further, right? I think many people can take it, and I think it really is the slogan for the 2024 election. It's not the full F around and find out. It's just find out. Find out. That's it. It's just find out, right? That's the campaign slogan. Find out. Now, RFK can run on it. Vivek can run on it. Trump can run on it, right? But it's just find out. That's it. There are so many secrets buried over this 80 years of occupied control in America. The things we suspect, just like the JFE, right? We're leaving an era of uncertainty and believing in someone and trusting and thinking, right? We're moving into the era of knowing and verifying and confirming. Right? It's not the same. The Bitcoin era is not trust these people. It's none of that, right? It is not I think, right? A Bitcoin transaction is not I think. It's I know. It's not the same thing, right? I think and I know are completely different mindsets. Now, until now, we've only thought, whether or not it's a full confirmation, it was still a thought that the US was compromised by the national security apparatus, right? But now we know. Now we know. And that's the first thing we know. And that starts to change things, right? Now that you know something, you can actually build off of that. You can go forward off of that. And I'll go back to this fella, this little kid, right? Sovereign Bra. You know, he's the guy who started running that, what's the name of the podcast where he gets all these, you know, disgusting, whorish women that all do OnlyFans, and you ask them basic questions and they can't, right? I don't remember the name of the show, but it works well. So he tweeted about the kid with the Gadsden flag and the woman, right? That whole thing, right? The guy who had the patch from the Guns and Bitcoin show that I helped produce last year. You know, the kid that everyone's talking about, right? So Sovereign Bra says the following: this screenshot perfectly encapsulates the struggle. And it's the screenshot. It's the one that I suggested you guys go look at yesterday. It's with the woman, the teacher, like, so angry that she's an idiot. And the boy with that shit-eating grin that you love, right? That you just love, right? Who doesn't love that kid's grin? So what he says is, this screenshot perfectly encapsulates the struggle of Western civilization right now. It's the struggle of the gynocentric longhouse Karen safety state versus the young, defiant, high-tea Chad. The strong young male who believes in his nation's ideals and founding principles versus the Karen that desperately wants to control him, stifle his masculine urges, and shut it all down by simply labeling his beliefs as racist and therefore unacceptable. The high-tea, freedom-minded Chad that refuses to be shackled by the female longhouse, and the longhouse kicks and thrashes against it, desperately trying to use policy and rules in order to bureaucratically and legally shackle him. The struggle between low-T, high-cortisol Marxist ideology versus high-T Western freedom. And he goes on to say, on the one hand, you have a teacher who keeps trying to manipulate his family's ability to exercise their beliefs by saying that she's just fulfilling school policy, right? That's what I'm just fulfilling school policy. She acts as if she doesn't have a choice in all the matters. But every word she speaks drips with her desperate desire to manipulate a strong young boy into falling in line with leftist and Marxist cultural programming. On the other hand, you have the boy's mother, a true spiritual lioness willing to fight for her young lion cub's right to continue to become strong, free lion he was born to become. This mother's fight for her son's right to express himself freely is a tradition we will all need to exercise in the decades ahead if we want to keep our kids free. The boy's defiance here is key. It's something that we will need to be trained and bred into our offspring to keep them free as well. The Karens hate nothing more than a smug young Chad who's willing to laugh at their desperate attempts to control him, right? So what I see by all of this is not so much a fight between control and rebellious kids. It's more, they would have to limit the curiosity. You'd have to limit the find out. You'd have to limit people having any sense of exploration, right? And that's why I think find out as a campaign slogan, or even just a way to frame what's going on in 2024, right? It isn't just about defiance and control. There is an element of curiosity involved in all of this that is yet to be exploited. And the curiosity is one of the few things that can actually overcome fear, right? If you are going to be rewarded with so much juicy information, entertaining information, you will risk danger. You will overcome fear in order to get that kind of information. And that's why I think, anyway, that the fight really is between the curiosity of people who want to know, not think, know about what's going on in the world, versus the people that would rather just shut it down and not know anything and not even be curious. Now, is it a straight race? I still think there are more people that are mindless than are curious, but you don't really need the same numbers. It's not democracy again, right? This isn't a vote. This is literally an arms race. This is a race between people who have curiosity and capacity and those whose capacity is diminished by a lack of curiosity and a lack of even bothering to use your mind. So the good news is, right, we've got a pretty straight race here between those who are curious to know what's going on and to actually fix things versus those folks who would rather just turn their brain off and not think about any of this, right? So I'm going to say we're going to win. And it won't be this thing where everyone just their hands and goes, oh, well, you know. Now, these mindless people are a problem, but not such a big problem, right? As long as they're not cheering on the president getting arrested or anything like that, I think we're fine, right? I think we're fine. So it's a race. It's a straight race, and it's between people who are curious and the force of curiosity and all that can be revealed. Remember, not just Trump can offer this. RFK can offer this. Vivek can offer this, right? They're offering to take the lid off of all the secrets we all know have existed since World War II around America. And we're going to find out all of them. This is an Alice in Wonderland type of thing. That's why the picture today. Oh, by the way, I used a new AI system this morning that does text. Finally, it's here. Midjourney can't do text. I can't remember what it was called. I've got it saved on my computer, but in a different window. But the text was pretty good. It took only a couple prompts. So I managed to get the Alice in Wonderland vial of, find out. All right. So you don't even have to do the fuck around piece, right? Just find out. Just find out. Right. And it works both ways. It works as fuck around and find out, but it also just works to pick your curiosity, right? Find out what happened, right? Find out just how much you've been manipulated for a generation versus vote for, vote for the podcast guy, the guy who the five pod are interested in. Vote for Gavin Newsom, right? It ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. So I agree. There's a sense here that, and I can see the scenario where we become nihilistic and just sit on our hands and get overrun by the psyops and all that stuff. However, on the other end, there is this curiosity. Now, I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it can get suppressed. Maybe our numbers really are too thin and we can be overwhelmed. Maybe. But this action against Elon Musk, what they're doing against Trump, and the number of players that have been activated into the game, like Tucker Carlson and others, I'll take us over them any day. I'll take our gang here, right? I'll take our gang here over everything that podcast is able to produce with those 5 morons. All of them, every bit of their audience compared to our audience here will have more effect on the world than they will. I believe that. Right. And it's not even close. Again, I go back to the conquistador argument, right? We are dealing with different weapons. We are superior in our weapons. World War III is a psychological and economic war. Bitcoiners are prepared for a psychological and economic war. And as we fight it, remember what happened with Cortez in Mexico all those years ago. It was 100 and something conquistadors against 15,000, right? And they kicked their ass. It wasn't even close. It's one of the greatest routes in the history of the world. They had horses, they had swords, and that was it. That's all that was required. A couple of guns, right? So remember, the people who were there, Montezuma's people, thought the horse and the human were one, right? And they needed courage. I don't know if you guys know this, but the actual soldiers with Cortez were petrified. Cortez had to burn the ships in order to force them. There was no way home. You were going and you were killing these people. And so they did. And they went out, and the people who came to meet them in battle believed that the horse and the man with the guns were one entity. They thought it was one animal. They didn't know. They didn't have horseback riding. It was a lost art to them. They didn't understand what was happening. So they thought it was one. And then, you do the shots and they run back. And then, so this is the logistics of that war that people have recreated, right? That you shoot, the soldiers all run back when they see lightning coming out of a horseman. And then they have the actual swords, which they had wood things, and they just, it was that. It was just this for an hour, right? Like, how many can you stab and kill, right? That was the whole game. And I don't know what the casualties were on the Cortez side, but they only had 150 to go with, and they destroyed 15,000 roughly, right? Those are roughly the numbers. And if you see, we've talked about it before, the Guns, Germs, and Steel book. The cover is the Inca version of that down in like Colombia or Venezuela or wherever that happened. But it was the same thing. It happened 2 or 3 times. It wasn't the only time it happened. That Pizarro, and it wasn't Cortez. It was Pizarro down there. But that's what it looked like, right? So as Bitcoiners, we are our weapons in World War III are much stronger than the Luddites. It's not even in the same planet, right? It is. I'll take our. We're at a 62 person on YouTube. Bigger on Rumble. I don't get the Rumble numbers here. I only get the YouTube numbers. We got some on Twitter right now for sure too, or X, right? So I'll take our, let's say roughly, 100 and something people watch this live. I'll take our live audience over that podcast any day of the week, right? Like, it's a better army. What am I going to do with Jimmy Kimmel fans? What can you do with them, right? Okay, they get a vote. Big deal, right? We don't need that anymore. That doesn't work, right? Mail-in ballots. The whole thing's a scam. All right, let's see some comments, and I'll be on FedWatch this afternoon at 12:30. I see we got a CK in the house. CK, come watch the show, man. It's going to be great. All right, let's go down. That show is doomed, Daniel said. So we're talking about the show. Yeah, it is a dumb show. I wonder where Conan O'Brien falls in this group. I think he's innocent. It looks like his show got canceled because he probably wasn't willing to read the lines. He looks honest enough to me. But don't know. Who knows, right? Chevron doctrine is what you were looking for with. Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. I'll look into that. You and my coffee break are the only reason I get up at 5 a.m. My electrodes to my brain forcing me to think rationally. Thanks a lot, man. Thomas, it's a form of rationality. I appreciate it, Thomas. But getting up at 5 is good for your health, man. I think getting enough sleep is good for your health. So you got to go to bed early, right? Good morning, fam. Smash the like, fam. We love the likes. Don't need many truth seekers. You don't need many. Look at what's happening with the handful. Look at what just Elon himself has done. It's pretty good. Right? If you want someone on your team in this war, you want the curious, right? On a road trip with my GF, I'm gonna make her listen to a backlog of the breakup. Tommy, don't make her. You don't need to make her. She'll like it though. I think she'll like it. That could determine if she's a keeper or not, Tommy. She's getting tested. It's a secular apocalypse. It is. And there are some great content creators and indie journals leading the way. Scott Adams Show and this show are just two. Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, it's not just the shows, though. It's the communities that come around the shows, right? So, again, why I insist on doing it live. Canning this and turning it into talking points. Now, I can see a market where I did this for like, here's an idea that I've got. Let me know if you like it, right? I'm thinking about creating, let's say a shorter. It wouldn't affect this, right? But here's one I want to do. I think Tommy's going to like it, right? I'm going to call it the 4:15 5-minute follow-up. News with a spin, right? And so I would be like this, and it would be prepared, right? It would be news with a spin if you catch my meaning, right? The 4:15 5-minute spin, and it would be scripted, I guess you could say. Scripted is wrong. I would take the show and try and condense it into a 5-minute, a little bit like what Tucker does. Tucker does read his show, right? It's read. So it would be a read version, so non-interactive. I'm not sure if it'll work, thinking about it, but I think I can at least get I think there's a market for that for Bitcoin, like a 5-minute thing in the afternoon that's short and sweet and to the point and is news. But we'll see. We got a lot going on. We got the book idea. We got all kinds of stuff. So there you go. Yeah, Russell Brand is great. Dr. Drew is great. Yeah, Glenn Greenwald, Tucker. This is all we need. I mean, honestly, players always beat non-players. Yeah, always. It's not even close, right? Total victory is the only option for humanity. Bitcoin is beginning a true new start and a just and joyful civilization. Yeah. Oh, and Bitcoin Graffiti reminds us, super blue moon, man, super bullish. Yeah, it was a super blue moon. I got the moon set this morning. I did not get the moon rise. It was too cloudy on the horizon last night. But as I was up at whatever time this morning, I got the simultaneous, because the moon is so the simultaneous sunrise and moon set, and because they're exactly locked. And you get the sunset and moonrise are also insane. Wow. Around the world. Yeah, sure. And by the way, Bitcoin Graffiti, my first book is called Blue Moon, which I just shared with Jeremy, but I would be willing to share it with you, no problem. Count's Army. We love it, downtown music. We love it. We love it. Let's go, Breakup Gang versus the Late Night Gang. That's great. Breakup Gang versus the Late Night Gang. Yeah. I'll share with you Bitcoin Graffiti. I'll email it to you after this. I love that. Yeah. Breakup Gang versus the Late Night Gang. That's awesome. Yeah. Imagine losing to those morons. Imagine losing to them. Right. And without, one of the best is you got to watch their promo video. You get I've never even seen this guy's show, and I don't know who he is. Seth something, right? That one. And he's there. Sometimes the moon is out in the middle. No. Only when it's a full moon, Slarty Blardfast. Only when it's a full moon. That's the trick. And indeed, they get totally out of sync when it's a new moon and a crescent moon waxing or waning. But when it's full, they're synced always, perpetually, right? Which is crazy, crazy. So now I agree. They're out in the day sometimes and all that, but I'm talking about sunrise and sunset. You'll always notice when it's a full moon that when the sun is setting, turn around and look, you'll see the going up, right? No, this is not true. Smallpox had nothing to do. That battle was over in noon. Smallpox had nothing to do with it. Now, the overall continental trouble, smallpox was involved, but not the actual fight. Not the day they fought. There was no smallpox yet, right? They hadn't even landed. They were not even. That was the first time they set foot on the continent. They had been to the islands, but now they're coming. That was like they came up through Cancun, right? So there you go. And it is the mind virus. You're right about that. The BTC is the mind virus, and it's a lot like the in that sense, right? And it will clean out the psyops with the same kind of numbers. Whew, that's a good way to put it. I like it, right? With the same kind of numbers. That's great. It's full when Earth between sun and moon. Yeah. Well, full is just the reflection of the sun. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But what I mean is the rotations are. I didn't notice it until a couple of years ago. One of the great things that I loved about the Apple Watch was that, right? So when people say, "Oh, you like the Apple Watch," but it's not a phone; it's just a watch. But you can keep track of more things. So I still always keep my Apple Watch set to moonrise and moonset, moon cycles, and sunrise and sunset. So I always know. So once I started tracking it more, and I basically never missed a sunset or sunrise or moonset and all those things, I just became interested, and I couldn't help but see the synchronicity. It was crazy, right? It is late night, so the breakup show is the late night show for me. Thanks, Habib. Yeah, not a new moon. Yeah, not a new moon. Yeah. Anyway, guys, the moon is just a fun subject for me. I don't know, like I'm not a moon expert, right? I'm not I use it for then why can be a solar, why a new moon can be a solar eclipse. That's why a new moon can be a solar eclipse. Yeah. And the full moon a lunar eclipse. Yeah. Story. Sun and show. I'm trying to remember what the hell I was just talking about. Have you been following the Chevron doctrine case? No, I haven't. So Matt, we'll look that up. I don't know. I will look it up for sure. Ask Marin. We love Marin. We love Marin. We love Marin. She's great. We love Marin. All right, team. I'll catch you on the. Can we have her on the show? Yeah, I think so. I booked her for a show well over when she just started. I saw the talent immediately and was like, "Whoa, we need the well, hard to miss the talent. We need the astrologer." But yeah, she's great. She's great. She was not. The live show is not the same exactly, so she's great online. All right, team. I forget what story I was telling earlier. It was some kind of a good story, but I'll remember. All right, everyone. Peace. See you tomorrow. I'll be around. It'll be Labor Day, Friday, Labor Day weekend. We'll be starting the Brome Fair in Brome Lake. I can't wait. Talk to you then.